Hello everybody, it's James here, Story Time with Dutch Mantell, episode 105. This is going to be a slightly truncated, if you like that word, Dutch, episode.
Hey, good word.
Yeah, I think it's a good word.
Good word.
So it's going to be a slightly truncated version as two various Dutches stare down upon me, judging me. Let me tell you, we're going to do the plugs, a very quick version of the plugs. We have, of course, our Facebook page, Storytime with Dutch Mantell. On Facebook, please join us there for some exclusive stuff. We've both got books. I've got 2, Owen Hart and The Rock. Amazon links are in the description. Dutch has 2 as well, The World According to Dutch. And Tales from a Dirt Road, links are in the description. Or if you want them signed, you go to dirtydutchmantell with 2 L's at gmail.com. He also has the diplomas for sale. Stevie Richards has asked for one. I'm going to bring his name up in a second. And PWTs, Pro Wrestling Tees, we are on there as well. So I need to make, I need to explain why this is going to be slightly shorter than usual. It's because I've got, me and my wife have got a hospital appointment that we need to go to at a specific time. So we're going to shave a tiny bit of time off this one. The other thing is I want to make 2 announcements, really. The big one and then a supplemental one I'll get into more on the 28th of June. The 28th of June is an important date because on the WSI little family of podcasts I've got going is Stevie Richards is going to be joining me for a weekly show, not a podcast. So we are having a completely different format to anything else we've done.
It's a show, but not a podcast?
Yeah, we are differentiating because instead of like a regular podcast where this is a bit more loose in format, we talk about the news, we have a joke and a laugh. We call the Stevie Richards Show a show specifically because it's going to be more tightly edited, it's going to be more in depth, it's going to be visually higher quality because Stevie Richards is an OCD tech geek and he's also picking up a lot of the slack for me in our creation of this show as well. So his camera will be super high definition. He's got the whiteboard of Stevie Richards wrestling analysis. That's going to be returning on the weekly as well on this show. So it's going to be everything that Stevie Richards was becoming famous for on YouTube plus. So we're both very excited about it, and we think it's going to be a really big deal, we hope, because we announced it yesterday as we record this, less than 24 hours. We've already got over 5,000 subscribers. And there's not even anything on the YouTube channel. We've got 5,000 subscribers, Dutch.
Yeah, but he had a good subscriber base before.
Yeah.
I even subscribed to him.
There was
now that you have something to do with it, I'm gonna unsubscribe.
Rightly so, let me tell you. Because you mentioned that as well, it's not going to be on the Stevie Richards Wrestling Analysis channel. It's a brand new YouTube channel, the Stevie Richards Show. Links will be in the pinned comment and the descriptions as well. And one more thing, Dutch is very kindly letting me blather on for a few minutes. I'll explain more on June the 28th on WSI because we've got a Stevie Richards episode there as well to promote the new channel. And I also go into why the Shane Douglas show, Franchise University with Shane Douglas, isn't continuing. And I've already told his management, I've already discussed it with Shane. Everyone understands my plight, essentially. But because we couldn't get regularly enough our schedules to align, it'd always have to be on a weekend. And Shane's only available certain weekends, as am I. And we couldn't do it in the week because I'm too busy. Shane doesn't have the setup at home. And then we kept missing weeks, and it just basically killed the momentum of the channel, which is a huge shame because I get on with Shane a lot. And to be honest, we had a lot more to say, and there was some really great content, some of the best podcasts, aside from Storytime with Dutch, of course, that I'd ever been a part of. And but essentially it's just one of those things where we couldn't get our schedules to align where we could do it regularly. The second thing is because we were so stop-start, it killed the momentum of the channel. And you know me, Dutch, I actually like to pay people for their time. So, and by the end of it, it's like there's so much stop-starting, we killed the momentum, and to be honest, I was losing money on it in the end. So it didn't make sense in that thing as well. And the third thing is, and Dutch knows this, I never really reveal my personal information at all out that on podcasts, but I'm having a baby in a couple of months, and to be honest, I don't need to work every single day of my life. So
you're having a baby?
Well, I'm fat enough to be having a baby. I look like I'm gestating, like some sort of a clutch of eggs.
That's news. That would make news. Man has baby. I liked it.
Oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger did it first.
But you haven't announced that yet, have you?
No, but it's just one more. Like I work like 50 hours a week in the week. I don't want to do weekends as well, or very few.
What you gonna do when that baby gets here?
Oh God!
All of a sudden we're doing this, and all of a sudden, yeah, I've got to go.
Oh, don't worry. The wife has got a maternity leave for a year here, so it's fine.
Okay, so do you know yet, boy or girl?
Oh, it's a girl.
It is a girl.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Don't ask me about the name. You've been trying to get a name out of me for weeks and weeks now, but we've decided we're not naming her until we see her. Because then, it's like, actually, it sort of looks like a Mabel. Or it looks like a... I'm picking the worst names possible here as a...
It's not an it, it's a baby. The baby looks like a Mabel. Or the baby looks like a Gladys. It's not an it. Don't say it around your wife.
Okay, then. Yes, she does admonish me for that. But yes, so there are the big announcements. And the Stevie Richards Show will be debuting on its own channel, links in the description, etc., on June 28th. Now, Dutch, you want to say a few things as well before we get into the meat of the show?
Yeah, I've had a few emails written to me, and I just want to respond to them real quick. Billy W., who is a Clemson University student, and he watches the show all the time. And of course, I'm a big Clemson fan, and I'm waiting to see how their football team's going to do this year. I don't have high hopes for Clemson this year because they got a new, not a new coach, but their program has gone down, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But I'm gonna say it's the portal. You don't know anything about the portal, but that means a college guy that could start out at, say, Notre Dame could switch the second year and go his sophomore year to the University of Georgia, and then his junior year to Texas, and then end up at Florida his senior year. He could go to 4 different schools in the portal. So, but that's messed it up. I want to say hello to my attorney, Adam Burbrower, for not getting me to go to jail anytime soon. And, the interview we did with Gail Kim, the Knockouts, very well received. And I got a guy who wrote me. His name is Mike Norris, and he wants to do a little more in-depth look at women's wrestling. And so we'll see if anything comes of that. But so thank you guys for writing me, and let's get on with this podcast, because this man here is going to be a daddy, and the mama needs him real quick in a couple of hours. So I got to get him out of here.
Well, unfortunately, we've got to start with sad news. Ricky Morton's eldest son, Jonathan Morton, has passed away. So this is what Ricky Morton wrote a few days ago on social media. I want to acknowledge that in recent week or so I may have seemed distant. Please understand it was never out of lack of love, but rather the immense pride and admiration I felt for him. Sometimes words fall short of expressing the depth of a father's love. A father should never have to go through the experience of losing a child. It's an unimaginable pain that goes against the natural order of life. Now, Ricky writes more there, and I don't know if you ever met Jonathan. I don't know if you were aware of this before.
I knew him.
Yeah. Do you have any stories of Jonathan and anything else you want to say?
Well, he was of course, he grew up around Nashville. So he was a really, really good musician. And I heard him play at one show. I forgot when it was, just several years ago, but he was actually pretty damn good. So I think that's what he wanted to do. I don't think he really wanted to get into wrestling. His other son, his youngest son, I guess, Kerry Morton, is in wrestling, but I don't think Jonathan wanted to much do it. But he spent his talents on being a musician. So, but Ricky, I'm really saddened that this happened to Ricky, because, I lost a granddaughter. He lost a son. And I don't think there is a difference, but not much of a difference. They're still your flesh and blood. So when you lose a member of your family like that, it really, really hurts. So my condolences to you, Ricky, and the family, and hope I see you and talk to you soon.
So I'll add one more thing that Ricky said. And touching on what you said, he touched so many lives with his music, writing a few huge country songs that resonated deeply with so many. Jonathan was a huge family man, always putting the loved ones first. And at the bottom it says, "Rest in peace, my beloved son. Your legacy will live on in our hearts forever." So our very much our condolences to Ricky Morton. We've had him on before, and I've interviewed him a few times, talked to him and stuff, and a huge character and everything. So there's no greater tragedy.
No, there's not. So condolences to Ricky and the family.
We will move on. This wasn't so much, it is news in the sense, but it's something that I hadn't realised, and I want to get your thoughts on it. We're going to go to AEW, and Tony Khan was speaking to Locked On NFL, and he discussed how AEW came about and where WWE fell into the plan in the creation of the company. And he said, "It's something I started working on in 2018, the idea to launch AEW. A lot of things came together, and I believe there were enough great wrestlers that would be available in the beginning of 2019 to launch a wrestling league. In April 2018, I started working on this, and I'm going to skip a few different things and just get to the meat of it, really." And says he was talking to the president of TBS and TNT, Kevin Riley, and he's talking to Kevin Riley about bidding wars, because he reveals here that Kevin Riley wanted to bid for WWE SmackDown, and he was looking to pay around $150 to $175 million per year. And Tony Khan managed to, one, correctly predict that the rights to SmackDown would go for over $200 million, which they went for $205 to Fox. And I think more people may have bid more, but I think the lure of network television was a big draw. And essentially, because of that, they didn't get WWE. AEW became a thing.
Mm-hmm. And the question is?
I have no idea. I just thought I'd just let you know about that.
Okay, Tony makes a statement there. He said, "I think there's enough great wrestlers to stock a promotion." Well, he stocked it with 180, and some of them are not great wrestlers. I hate to tell him. Oh, they can do all the moves and they can do that. But can they carry a story? And I've said this time and time and time again. It's the story that gets people to tune back in. You could take the greatest actors in the world and put them in a show so you watch it. And if the story is not there, why do you tune back in? Not because of the acting. You tune back in because you want to see where the story goes or what happens. Name anything, the greatest series ever of all time, which I think is The Sopranos. They had a great story with a backstory. And then you watched it, and now you became like a member of the family because you understood everything they did and why they would do that. But it's a story. It's not necessarily the talent of the wrestlers. It's the talent of the storyteller. Now, and I think that's what AEW, why their ratings are higher, because they had a couple of stories, but then the guys got hurt. But you got to start something else.
Well, so I think that's a good point, because MJF came back and there was that story with, the Devil Mask guy, and then he comes back after, 6 months? And then they kill that story dead. And then they just shoved him in with Roosh, and now they shoved him in with somebody else who... So basically, MJF was your champion, and now they've just brought him back into the mid-card. And he looks great.
To me, he's deader than 4 o'clock. That's what he is. Because they took his story from him. Can't do that. And I don't know what it takes for, and I'm sure Tony listens to some of our podcasts. I'm sure he does. Tony, tell a story that goes more than a week or 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. You go by the bloodline over in WWE, it went on for 3.5 years or how long it went. And the more it went on, the stronger it got. And then I remember one time they went down. They said, "Well, that's done." And I said, "No, it's not done. They got 52 weeks a year to tell this story. They can pick that story up anytime they want to." Roman Reigns is over more now by being off than he actually was when he was actually actively participating. And when he comes back, it's going to explode. Believe me, because, and I got some more to say about WWE, but I'll wait a little later on in the podcast.
I want to give another example. We're actually going to give AEW props in a little while, but I wanted to mention this as well. So, they've got the Young Bucks and Jack Perry and Okada, and now they're like the EVPs, and they make everyone else's lives hell. Until, I think that happened for a few weeks, and then they I can't remember who it was, they levied a fine against someone and said, that's $10,000 or whatever. And then by the end of the show, they somehow managed to make it that Tony Khan had rescinded those fines and they wouldn't be fined anything. So it was like, well, one, that sort of just makes the EVPs just a bunch of eunuchs with no actual power. So that's sort of that storyline killed now.
Okay, they were fined $10,000, and by the time the show was over, it had been rescinded and they owed nothing.
Yeah, because Tony Khan's the real boss and he can overrule anything the EVPs do. So it sort of just begs the question why the EVPs have any power.
Well, it's like one step forward and two steps back. They're actually back from where they started. I don't get that.
We will move on. We've got a few bits of TNA news as well. So Matt and Jeff Hardy are now in TNA. So they did not re-sign with AEW and are now free agents, with both of them making appearances for TNA, most recently at the Against All Odds pay-per-view. What is left for the Hardy Boys to do in wrestling?
Nothing. But from their heyday in WWF, I guess, or whenever it changed, they're like 15 or maybe 20 years older. So what can they do? And they've seen everything that Jeff has to do, and now I'm afraid Jeff's going to kill himself because he's lived that daredevil style so long, and that's what he's known for. The body won't take that, and he's going to get hurt. And, of course, Matt never had the talent, and I think he'll tell you this too. He never had the talent or the lack of a brain.
Are you sure
like
that Matt would say that?
Well, he may say that. I don't know. But they can't perform like they used to. They just can't. I think Matt has a pretty good head for the business. I don't think Jeff does. I think Jeff just wants to go and be Jeff. He's a different bird anyway. But I don't think we're going to see the Hardys of old.
Okay, right. So back in WCW, I remember like Larry Zbyszko and other people would always talk about the cruiserweights and the crazy things they would do, and they say, well, they're not going to last until 35. Nearly all of them did. I mean, obviously, they've all slowed down a lot and that kind of thing, or had to just completely change. There are some who can still do some of the high-flying stuff and get away with it. With Matt and Jeff, they're obviously more high flyers than, punch and kick types. Does that cut their longevity down? I mean, they've had a huge longevity in the business already, but I mean, if you want to go into your 50s and into your 60s, like you did, you wrestling into your 60s, it just doesn't lend.
Hey, and I really had a high flying style too.
Have you ever come off the top rope?
Oh, well, I've come off of it, but I was just sitting up there trying to get a tag, and then I got down. Anything over 3 feet, I get nosebleed. So they did get me on a scaffold one time in Memphis. Oh my God. And I bitched and bitched and bitched. And I remember Bill Dundee said, "Hey mate, quit being such a pussy." I said, "No, I'm not really. I think anybody would be scared 15 feet above the ring." But he wasn't scared. And then I found out more about him. He grew up in a circus. And he was doing all this stuff when he was a kid. So, yeah, that high-flying stuff, some guys can do it and some guys can't.
But the thing is,
see, now, why I didn't do it, because I was more into the storytelling aspect of it, which lasts a lot longer than coming off some big high scaffold or ladder or any kind of stuff like that, because those guys, they take a chance every time they do it. But when they're young, they can get by with that. When they hit, like you said, 35 and older, it starts to hurt a little more. So they do start thinking about timing and what it's worth of the total match. So we'll see what they do, but I don't think they can do anything that we haven't already seen them do.
With Matt, so I was looking into his Wikipedia, doing that in-depth research, and you go to Impact in 2017, January. He leaves in February because he has a fallout with creative and people in the office. So I know that you and Rebby Hardy, and we've talked about it before on the podcast, had a Twitter spat that went back and forth a few times, and it was very amusing. What was Matt's issue in the first place with the change of directive?
I don't really know, to tell you the truth. I didn't deal with him that much. But he was coming to the creative meetings and sitting in. But I think he was sitting in just going over his stuff. I don't think he was contributing to anybody else, not that I recall. But his delete, I never got delete. I never really got that. So, and it wasn't exciting for me. I guess the people that got it. He got it, I guess. But I didn't see him contributing that much. And I think I didn't tell him that. I think he sat in and we weren't talking about him so much. So I guess he got the message and then he left a month later.
More TNA stuff, and it's more WWE crossover stuff. So first it was Jordan Grace, and now on NXT this past Tuesday, Frankie Kazarian was there, although he wasn't really, he was just sort of just there and just was another body in the Battle Royal. But there was a Battle Royal, by the way. And more importantly, because he got his own entrance and he got to cut a promo and he got a special camera thing and everything, Joe Hendry made his NXT and WWE debut. You watched it. What did you think?
Okay, I'm confused on Joe Hendry. Is he in NXT or is he in TNA?
He's in TNA. This was another TNA crossover.
Okay. Well, I don't really get this either, but this was Joe Hendry's first appearance, correct?
Yeah. And it was a surprise, I believe, as well.
And unless you're on social media, of course, I knew who he was, but I don't know how many people really knew who he was. Ethan Page, he debuted the same time, right?
No, I think he debuted a few weeks earlier.
Okay. Well, and then both of them went in there and they were in it. Page went head to head to Joe Hendry and they got to arguing. Then all of a sudden somebody who came in and attacked Ethan Page?
Oh, you're already testing me here. I can't remember. I watched it too.
See, I don't know, but some guy come in and they fouled out of the ring. So that's over. And now everybody teamed up on Joe Hendry because he said he's going to eliminate everybody. So they dumped him out. So that to me didn't do either one of them any good. So I think they went about that backwards. But Joe Hendry, I think that he's got his own song. I think he'll do okay. But I think everybody needs to take a lesson or a page out of Triple H's booking book, how to book effectively and wisely, because I've used that one time, and it works. You tell the story. People are paying attention to the story and what's going to be the result of the match, other than just all this high-flying stuff. So you can see all that high-flying stuff and the greatest stuff in the world, but what you're going to do next week, they've already seen it, or most of it. That's when the story's got to take over. And remember, I've said before, it's not the first thing you do in an angle. It's really the second thing, the follow-up. The follow-up needs to be almost as zeroed in as the first one. Now you start a story. Now you can slow it down a little bit, or you can speed it up. But another thing old Booker told me one time, he said, don't ever go too far to where you can't back up and readjust. So you can't shoot the angle that all of a sudden just changes everything. You can get close to that and see how you feel or how the fans feel, because they're going to be the ones who ultimately decide what you do anyway.
With Joe Hendry, I'm going to play devil's advocate with you, Dutch, because I heard other people complaining, well, what did he give Joe Hendry a big intro for and everything, and then have him be eliminated first? But in my mind, I was thinking, well, if he was just eliminated halfway through, would people remember as much? Or
No.
do you just think, if anything, he should have been the last two or something?
I would have handled it. I don't know how I would have handled it, but I think I would have handled it just a little bit differently. Nothing else, have him go in there after making that a big deal and just hide. Get knocked out of the ring, and then all of a sudden you see him and see he looks up over the ring, how many people, and then he goes back up under the ring till there's only 3 guys. And then he's, oh, I'll get in here now. Now that's memorable, I would think. He picks his spot and goes in. He didn't beat everybody, but really, if he wins, he did beat everybody. So he didn't tell a lie doing his promo. But see, the days of the chicken shit heel are gone. But they don't need to be. Because, heel's getting his ass beat. All of a sudden, he hits that ankle express. He takes the walk. Oh, the people, ooh, you chicken shit. And then if he runs and runs, and I've done that 1,000 times. It always works. But if you're going to be a chicken shit, and everything's fine when you got the guy beat down, now you can brag and you can pose and you can do that, and you can do your Hogan stuff. But then when the baby face fires up, whoop, gotta leave. I gotta check out. I'll be back in a minute when you calm down.
With this was one more thing I quite liked. I just saw this comment on Wrestling Inc. I don't know if it's true or not. I hope it is. Apparently, Joe Hendry's NXT debut got more views than this is on social media. Got more views than Will Ospreay, Mercedes Moné, and Okada's debuts for AEW combined. So apparently, Joe Hendry's got some big old cachet with the internet fans.
No, he's got some steam behind him. What I'm saying is, his first appearance here, I think, took that steam away from him, or somewhat.
Well, there was something that I didn't share with you. After this, there's a backstage vignette where Joe Hendry is actually yelling at Shawn Michaels as well.
Yep.
So they continued that story, and he was definitely a highlight of it. Regardless of if he's eliminated or not, you won't forget his appearance.
Okay, so after he was thrown out by everybody, then he comes back and bitches to Shawn Michaels that everybody teamed up on him.
Exactly.
Which was a good touch. That was good.
Now, very briefly as well. So
I think he needs to get a lawyer and go back and sue him.
Have you got a lawyer that you could recommend, Dutch?
Yes, my personal attorney here on the show, Adam Burbrower. Hello, Mr. Burbrower. I hope life's treating you, and I'll be back in contact with you in a week or so.
I've still never quite understood that relationship with you and the lawyer, and you keep bringing it. We'll find out. I need to ask why.
Hey,
why all of a sudden you've got legal quagmire.
Okay, Cornette has one.
So you
Stephen P.
So it's just we just need one.
Stephen P. New. Now he's a real attorney.
Yeah. Why don't we get a judge, like the official judge, like a circuit judge?
Well, who would that be?
I don't know. I don't know any American judges. Could you ask one?
Well, I don't know any either, because they've all sentenced me.
No, fair enough.
Oh, they know me, but I'm gonna be on the lookout for a judge. There was a judge that wrote me from Texas, and I can't remember his name now.
Was he trying to lure you back to Texas to?
No, he was a big wrestling fan.
Oh.
See, that's the thing about wrestling. Wrestling takes in everybody. It really does. It takes in doctors and lawyers, and it takes firemen and construction workers and teachers and truck drivers. It really takes in everybody. And I used to think when I would go in the ring and I would look out, let's take an event like WrestleMania 29. That was in New Jersey, right? 82,000 people in MetLife Stadium. But when I looked out, I didn't see just wrestling fans. I saw America. That's the people that get up every morning, get their kids off to school, get them breakfast, go to work, pay their taxes, do everything that makes this country work, and they're wrestling fans, which made me actually proud to be there. And that was back in the We the People days. And I've told this before, the creative thought that everybody would hate me, We the People. Well, what is to hate about We the People? That's what a democracy is. It's we the people decide what's going to make people mad, which gives me reason to think no wonder the WWE creative was so off back in those days, because you just got to have common sense to know that when I would ask people to please rise and say along with me, We the People, half of them would get up, even though I was supposed to be a heel. They would even get up in your country, in England, and they would get up. And we'd all say, We the People. We the People is actual, it's universal. It's what it is. So, but I wasn't a big heel. People kind of liked me. They didn't like me in Texas, but I was attacking the immigration problem.
And also a judge was after you in Texas as well. We'll move on. And now this isn't really TNA based, but it's something that Jordynne Grace had said in a recent interview, and I was interested to see what you thought. So, talking to Fightful Select, Jordynne Grace was asked if there were any restrictions on what she could or couldn't do in a WWE ring, to which she replied, "Yeah, can't do pile drivers. Only certain people can."
Mm-hmm.
So, since the TKO merger, and especially in 2024, wrestlers are being given more leniency as to what they do in the ring, yet the pile driver remains banned unless someone is given special permission, like a Kane or an Undertaker, but they're retired now. So, why is I know in the old days it was always the most dangerous move, the pile driver, but why in 2024 are people still not allowed to use it? Because I don't remember anyone on a regular pile driver getting injured.
Well, Owen Hart did it to Steve Austin.
But that's an inverted sit-down pile driver. I'm talking like the Lawler, Orndorff kind of ones.
You got to know how to do these moves. I don't think they trust their talent enough, because you could get hurt really, really badly on a pile driver. Now, just think of this. I've gone to the ring with a lot of guys, and they'd give me a pile driver. Now, I didn't know if they were qualified to do this or not, but I qualified myself knowing that in my head, I was going to make sure my head would not touch that mat. Because if you get dropped on your head straight in, it could paralyze you for life. So, and I think a lot of wrestlers and a lot of fans and a lot of critics of wrestling, they don't really know how dangerous wrestling really is. We're like stunt men, but we only got one take. You get it right on the first take, or you don't get it, period. If it looks like crap, it just looks like crap. But see, if it looks like crap and you realize that, well, you don't sell it. You try not to, or you half-ass sell it. And the pile driver has always been an effective, and I forgot who used the first pile driver. I think it was Buddy Rogers. I think he was one of the first ones to use it. And then it got banned, which made it a more of a feared move. And I think Johnny Valentine used it. But back in those days, if only one guy used it, that made it more deadly than anybody else. And unless another guy come across and he's trying to use it, so it's pile driver versus pile driver. Of course, you work those things like that. But those were back in the days we didn't have cable TV. It was a long time after I started wrestling before I found out that they had wrestling all across the country. I didn't know that. I was I'm a stupid kid. So I'm riding with the guy, and I think his name was, an old timer. Pedro Godoy, I think was his name. And he was telling me, he said, hey, kid, if you want to go to California, I can get you can work your way across. I said, I didn't know what he's talking about. And I went, what? Then I said, they have wrestling in California.
Mm-hmm.
I embarrassed myself and didn't know what I was doing. I was just ignorant. He said, oh, yeah, they got 2 or 3 offices out there. He said, I could, if you, and I was in Atlanta, working out of Atlanta. He said, if I can book you in Birmingham on the way, and then you go across, and then maybe Jackson, Mississippi, a couple of nights later, and then you go down to Dallas and work in Dallas, then Fort Worth, and you start working your way across the country, which pays part of your way, and then you get to California. And I did not. I said, now I'm talking about, because I was used to seeing just Atlanta TV and Carolina TV is all I knew about. And if they had wrestlers in another part of the country or any other places that had territories, I didn't even know about it. But then after I knew about it, what always mattered to me, that I always loved, was say, coming soon. And all of a sudden, you show this wrestler in another territory, it's like a different arena. He's doing different stuff. And he was exciting. That was exciting for me to see a new guy coming in from a new territory and thinking, and then all you were hearing is how tough he is, how mean he is. And I really look forward to that stuff. See, being a fan, if they do it right, is exciting. It really is. So, and what I want to say about the new WWE right now, I don't think they could have done it much better, because I think Triple H knows what he's doing. He's surrounded himself on the creative team by but writers who know what they're doing. And I think a writer's job in WWE now is much, much better than it used to be, because they don't write down every word. They just give you bullet points of what they want you to say, and you just get it in. That's where your talent as a wrestler comes in. Now, when I went there one time, they said, oh, you got to say every word or Vince gets mad. I went, well, I went out there and changed about everything, and guess what he said to me? 0, because I got the points in. If they wanted me to memorize this, and I think Chris Jericho said this one time, he went out and he didn't do it verbatim, word for word. He said he pitched the bitch of what I heard he did. Like, you going to do it as we write it down. But I went out there. First of all, I couldn't remember it anyway. I mean, because some writer, he's not going to. Dirty Dutch or Zeb Coulter had a certain way of speaking, and it certainly wasn't through a writer's lens. And what pissed me off too is every week, and it could be the same week with SmackDown and Raw, you'd have a different writer. I mean, if you're going to try to create a character, see, I'm the only one who really knew what the character was supposed to be, but 2 different writers attacking it from 2 different viewpoints aren't going to agree. I mean, both of them could have been 100% correct, but they're going to phrase it differently, put it differently. And so on Raw, I'd have one writer, then go to SmackDown. It's the same team, but I'd have a whole other writer, and the next week would be just reversed. So that's what I didn't much like about it, but I got my points in.
I was looking in who invented the pile driver beforehand. It says here, Wild Bill Longson is credited.
In Texas.
From born in Salt Lake City, apparently.
Where'd he go from though? Wasn't he a cowboy, like a Western guy? Wild Bill.
Yeah, there's there's not a ton of sorry, it's Wikipedia again. Information about him is Wikipedia.
Wait a minute. Who did Wikipedia beat? They ain't beat nobody. Who pays attention?
Do you know who Wikipedia beat? The actual physical books.
Yeah.
That's about all they beat. But I'm looking at the photo of him. He doesn't have a cowboy hat on or anything like that, but he was a 3-time NWA champion. Before we get off the pile driver, I want to circle back to that, Dutch.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I'm interested in what territory booked, not who did the best pile driver, but who booked the best pile driver, in the sense of who made it the most dangerous move, it was career-ending, and that kind of thing. Who was good at that?
I got to go to Memphis, because Lawler, I think he was the only one who used the pile driver except on certain occasions. And he got the pile driver over there. That when he used it, it was usually the finish. And they could even have a DQ, and then he'd go after the guy, but he would leave him laying. He would give him the pile driver. So even though Lawler lost the match, he still won the encounter. He lost the match via DQ, but he still won the encounter by leaving him laying when he leaves. See, those are little tricks that sometimes these new bookers don't know. Tony Khan doesn't know it. So,
wasn't there a good saying? I remember in the 90s at some point, maybe this was a Bill Watts thing in WCW. He, enacted a load of rules that people were thinking, well, it's the 90s. I understand the thought process, but it was the 90s. But a load of essentially additional rules, like you can't come off the top rope and that kind of thing. And they were for different reasons. But it's one of those things where rules are put in place to be broken. And that's the idea of it. And, you ban the pile driver because it's too dangerous, but it's banned because that rule is meant to be broken. It's more effective when it is.
You say put in place to be broken?
Yeah.
Well, the pile driver, that was one of them. But you see, you can't have everybody on the card doing a pile driver. Because if everybody uses it, really, that takes the effect of it out. It's like everybody doing super kicks. The young bucks, I counted one time the super kick between the two. It was like in the 20s. Super kick, super kick, super kick, super kick. And I was going, what the hell? But if they would pick their spots and hit that, then it would mean a lot. So even if they threw the super kick and didn't collapse, it didn't connect, but when it did connect, it knocked the guy out. Now it would mean something, but you got to have discipline. You got to have a leader. See, back when I broke in, the booker would watch the matches every night. And if you did something that you weren't supposed to do, when you come in, he said, come here. And some of them would raise hell, and some of them would be more, forceful by saying, talk in a low tone, don't do that again. You've already been told. You've been told? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Don't do it again. You got it? You got it? Okay. Well, see, when they told me that, guess what I did? I didn't do it anymore. So, but I don't know if those are the days. See, WWE, they have so many different people, and I don't know about now. So many different people telling you maybe so many different things. You don't have that one solid leader unless it's Triple H, and he doesn't have time to watch every match. I've seen WWE shows or Raw shows where the actual booker was still in the back with other talent trying to get their match straightened up while the other matches go on. So he's not watching the earliest matches, but this is the thing that bothers me about WWE. They send them to NXT to warehouse them. I mean, if you're going to go and try to learn this system, I don't think anybody, if you're in NXT after, I'm going to say effectively a year, and you don't move up, Now, there's a reason for that, because for you to move up, somebody has to go to make room for you on the roster. And I'm sure NXT is made for a training ground. But WWE had those training grounds years ago till they killed their own training ground. They took over all the mom and pops, all the little territories. They took over, say, Florida, and they took over the Carolinas, and they took over Texas. And so where are these guys? Where are these people going to actually learn from? And now you got wrestling schools, but they're a dime a dozen. And most of those guys that teach it, I don't know who taught them, if anybody. So, but WWE, instead of going out and spending a lot of money like they do on NXT, they had their own training grounds with these other territories, but thinking to run them out of business, open it up for them. And if you really think about what WWE did, or WWF, they took some of the top talents from every territory and brought them to WWE. Look at what they did to Texas. They took out Kerry Von Erich. He was the top.
Dallas was dead anyway, so he had no choice.
It was, but they still had the territory. That's what I'm saying. So, and they took, who'd they take out of Memphis? They took Lawler. And guess who they took out of Florida? They took Dusty. They didn't do a lot with him, but they took him out.
Well,
but
I'll give you some good examples. AWA, they took Hogan, they took Jesse Ventura, they took Mean Gene, they took Bobby Heenan, they took Dr. D. They were all the. I mean,
used to be my partner.
Yeah, Dr. D. Yeah.
That's a crazy son of a bitch. I love him to death, but he's a crazy bastard.
I do know how to get in touch with him. Guessed?
Do I know?
No, I do.
Okay. Just call him up.
Do you know?
I don't know how to get a hold of him. No, I don't.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know how to get in touch with him, so I might see if we can hook that up at some point. Just very quickly, I've got to tell you this, and then we'll move on. Sorry, we're doing a very speedy version of this. Did I ever tell you that I went to a wrestling school once?
No.
I was 19. And
it was in England.
Yeah, it was in Sheffield. I may have told you this. I may have said this on the podcast. I don't remember. Anyway, the first thing they did, this is in like 2005 or 4 or whenever it was, is they gave me a piece of paper with a bunch of wrestling moves. And it's like, do you know all of these? How many do you know? It's like, one was a full Nelson, one was like a brain buster, one was like a top rope suplex. I was like, well, yeah, I know them all. And it's like, okay, great. Well, then on to the next lesson then. And it's like, are you kidding me? It's like, I can just get any old wrestling game and just play it and learn the moves, or I could just watch wrestling with my eyes and see what moves are. I mean, it was so moronic the way and I was. It's
ironic you bring that up. You like that word, ironic? I'm reading something just this morning. It was about Bautista, and he had a partner, and they went to this like open challenge, wrestling tryout. And I forgot who was teaching it. Sarge. Remember the Sarge guy?
Oh, yeah, Power Plant, yeah.
Yeah. And he said they made him, Bautista said he was getting mad because it was just, they said they weighed 320, him and the other guy. And said he just had them working out and doing squats and squats and squats. He said, finally, they just couldn't do any more squats. And then when they flagged out, then Sarge told him, he said, get your stuff and go home, guys. You'll never be wrestlers.
It was like, how many squats do you think Dusty ever did? Apart from on Dusty, the toilet. He never did a squat in his life.
Oh, yeah. I used to see him in the dressing room doing squats.
No, you didn't.
I'm a liar. Now I'm a liar.
Yes,
he did. He did 100 squats and about 50 push-ups. But he would do push-ups standing on his hands and go down like this. And so, but no, Dusty, that wasn't his strong suit. Dusty would go out there, but to be a big guy, Dusty was very, very athletic, really. I was in a basketball game. It's like a charity basketball game. in Charlotte. Oh my God. He was a hell of a close to the 3-point line now. He would be sinking them.
Hey, there's a video of it on YouTube. I saw it not too long ago. Yeah.
And I was on the team. I didn't get in the game for some reason, but it was, I forgot who was on the team. I forgot. But anyway, it was all they played some like policeman or fireman or something. And it was for charity. It was fun though. It really was.
Is donkey basketball a real thing?
Yes, it is. What, you never heard of donkey? You ever seen it?
I've seen it on The Simpsons, and I thought they were joking.
Donkey basketball is a real thing. You just got to put different, you can't put regular horseshoes on them. Of course, they tear the floor all up. You just put a bunch of
Converse on them.
You covered their hooves with some rubber or something.
Some stylish mules out there.
And nobody, you can't get a damn donkey to follow you, and you can't damn sure get him to drive for a layup. But I don't think they use, I think they use 3 donkeys is what they use, and then 2 free guys. Can you imagine trying to guard a donkey? But it is a real thing. Yeah, down south, they used to do it.
How does a donkey shoot?
Well, the donkey doesn't shoot. The guy shoots, but how does he dunk? That's the deal. I saw one go up and he dunked with his back hooves. Impressive, believe me. And the whole crowd, all 50 of them went, ooh, you had to be there.
We will, on that, I don't know how to follow up on that. We're just going to move on to a different subject. So, WWE stuff now. Wyatt Sicks has finally debuted after months. It's called the Wyatt Sicks, but it's spelled like S-I-C-K-S or supposedly. Okay. But there's 5 of them.
Yeah, you wrote 6. I saw that and I went, Wyatt Sicks. And I'm thinking, I didn't get it till today. S-I-C-K-S 6, but S-I-X 6, but there's only 5 of them, which leads people to think. Now, this is where, what I was telling you earlier. You got to make people think a little bit. Oh, there's got to be another one coming. If it's the Wyatt Sicks, which it has a double meaning, a double entendre. You like that word? Mm-hmm.
I like the way you pronounce it as well.
How do you say that word?
Entendre.
It is not entendre.
A double entendre.
No, that's the way you guys say it in London. Which is bastard. London. No, it's bastardized English is what it is.
Well, it's actual French. I mean, that is how the French pronounce it.
But, okay, why? I thought the British hated the French.
Yes, but then we stole their words. But we still pronounce them the same. And then the Americans took the same words and pronounced them completely differently.
Oh, yeah. We got to.
Yeah.
Because we can't beat you in a war. We'll just damn trash your language. We'll do that.
And cheese-eating surrender monkeys. You can't be seen to take their words.
But, we're going to talk about this in a minute. The Wyatt Sicks, their opening on Raw.
You saw the entire thing. This was the
I did see it.
This was the go home segment on Raw this past Monday. This has been teased for months with QR codes and hints that Bo Dallas's Uncle Howdy was coming back, and Eric Rowan, Eric Redbeard, the Vintner had been rehired. And this had been announced as a plan for weeks before they actually debuted. It'd be these
is Loomis in that group?
Dexter Loomis, as well as Nikki Cross, who hadn't been on TV for ages, and Joe Gacy of NXT. They are the new 5.
Loomis, I'm really high on him because I met him I've only met him once, but he came to TNA. I guess he was looking for a spot, and I met him and talked to him. Nice guy, but I really like how they handled him because we go back to my theory. They told a story with him without really telling a story, but he was interesting. He never talked, did he?
Don't think so.
And the only time he ever talked, the first time, is when he got married. You remember that?
Yes.
Which was actually very, very good. So, but I'm split on the Wyatt group.
Well, there's two things really to talk. Well, there's three things. The group itself. There is the
Is there
how
two
they were.
is there two or three?
It's three. It's three.
Oh,
Half
okay.
of six. Wyatt Sicks, I guess. If we're gonna do mathematics. Three things. The group itself, the story, the angle they were presented, and also the production of how they were presented in their debut as well. So take all three, a ranking, what you'd change, what you liked.
No, I liked it all. I really did. Production was through the roof because it was interesting the way they shot it. And we don't hear a lot about production, how they produce these segments, these vignettes. But that's an art form too. And the way they did it, if you're watching it, and I don't care if you're 6 years old or 86, you still look at it and you still enjoy it. See, then it didn't go so far, but you're just announcing they're coming anyway. And then he went out there and he lit the lamp. Then he blew it out, right? Mm-hmm. Then it ends. So now, as far as Bray Wyatt, I think he sold a lot of gimmicks, but I never really got why he was over. So they might take it farther now than they did. But let's see. And to me, I'll say this: the Wyatt Sicks at this point is an open book. I'm reading it along with everybody else, and let's see what they do with it. Because I think, see, Bray Wyatt wasn't a babyface. He wasn't a heel. I don't even think he was a tweener. He was different than everybody else, but I don't know how you break that down to where he really draws money. Now, he's part of the package that draws money, but how could he draw money like on his own is what I'm saying.
Aside from merch.
Aside from the merch, yes. So, and now we're going to see how good this creative team is.
Now, we talked about Bray Wyatt before his passing quite a few times, as far as you never understood the character, and you always said in your experienced booker's mind that essentially he's a booker's nightmare, in the sense that whoever you put him against, the other guy would look worse for it, because he would just eat up everybody. Aside from Randy Orton, I think, he ate up everybody. Seth Rollins or John Moxley, whoever it is. So now, Bray Wyatt's passed, and now we're bringing that character back, the Fiend character specifically, I should say, back, and now there's 5 Fiends. So how do you avoid the pitfalls of the original Fiend, where no one seemed to look good wrestling him, and now you've got 5 times the amount? I mean, do you have to make them vulnerable in some way? How do you keep them strong yet not kill everybody else? That's
what I'm saying. How do you do that? And up to this point, if they ask me, if I was on the creative team, WWE, and they say, well, how see, you got to be one or the other. You got to be see, that tweener thing only take you so far. Now, if you get Randy Orton now, you got to be kind of a heel. But nobody accepted him as a heel. And if he's against somebody else, a heel, he's got to be a babyface, but yet, and he wrestled the same. I don't care if he wrestled whoever. It was always the same, and he did not cheat. He didn't say anything that was controversial, really. You just didn't understand what he was saying. He did a whole interview one night, and I'm sitting at Raw, and I'm listening to it at the go position. And then when he finished, I thought to myself, because Vince was sitting about 10 feet away from me, I should have said, what the F did he say? But I didn't. But I couldn't repeat what he said. I didn't even, I couldn't even condense it down to what he did. It make me mad? No, because I didn't understand it. And if he'd have been a babyface, I still wouldn't have understood it. And I wouldn't have agreed with it because, again, I didn't know what he said. So that was, now this was a Bray Wyatt invention. He invented that character. And I think why they dropped this, when he was doing the thing with LA Knight, all of a sudden, he just disappeared. See what I mean?
Hmm.
So, but we will see. We will see.
I've got a few follow-up questions about the Wyatt Sicks, and we'll move on. Do you think with the Wyatt Sicks, it would be more prudent to avoid promos at all? Because you run the risk of two things. One, sounding too much like Bray Wyatt, and the second one is sounding nothing like Bray Wyatt and it not being true to the character. But you know what I mean? But if you did a Bray Wyatt promo, it's the same thing. It's sort of like Ravens, but without the point.
I don't think we're going to really see the Wyatt Sicks headline WrestleMania or anything like that, because I don't think you could get that much steam on them either way. Now, that's my opinion. Whether I'm right or not will remain to be seen. But I, as far as the interviews, I think less is more. Let them say nothing. Let them have the fans put their own meaning to it, which is what they were trying to do before. And that's why I didn't understand it. See, I don't like to overthink wrestling because I'm overthinking something like, and there's a lot of things that they could do, but again, this is, and I think it is the WWE's the best booking going on right now. So, but if they can take this and really make it must-see TV, because they kept telling us they're coming, and they took their time with it, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Took them how long to debut them? 3 months?
Yeah, months. But I'm wondering if they took them so long because they couldn't quite figure out how to present it. Good
question. Because I still don't believe they know how to present it. And they're guessing. And guess who's going to really be the judge of this?
The audience.
No kidding. If they sit out there and people said, oh, God, here they come again. Let's go get a Coke. They'll get the hint pretty quick.
Well, they're in Corpus Christi, Texas, which hasn't got the greatest reputation for, like huge crowd reactions. But the crowd reacted big to it. So at least for a first...
But they always reacted to me.
Yeah, but I mean, you're doing a patriotic, pro-American character. How
no, but well, years ago when I went down just as Dutch Mantell, they reacted to me. Of course, I had to get up and slap a few people ringside on the way in because I just wanted to show them I meant business. Oh. They really got mad, and I slapped that 85-year-old woman, and she was tough though. She tried to kick me down low. I can't believe she did that.
See, you could have just said, all I was trying to do was do the We the People thing, but my arm just went out a bit too far.
Yeah, and slapped them.
Yeah.
So,
Your Honor.
But I would say if we watch the Wyatt Sicks and its construction, we will really find out how good this creative team is. Now, they will cover that up with great video. Because as we saw their introduction, that was really good, really interesting, got the dark edge to it. So they started the story. Let's see where they go with it.
Okay, the next question, and for once, I've actually bothered to tee up the video in advance. Sorry, we've got the overlay on it because it's WWE stuff, but I'm sure you'll have seen it. So, Clash at the Castle, Damien Priest in the main event versus Drew McIntyre does an all-time botcheroonie quite early on in the match. We are going to watch it right now.
As well, the opportunity to prove himself.
Whoa!
Priest man just snapped his ankle.
So for the audience, sorry, for the audio listeners only, just one more time. I'll dim down the audio. Can you tell the audio listeners what we're seeing?
Okay. I was trying to watch his foot there. His foot comes off that second rope. Right there. See it come off?
Yeah, that's what's happening.
That's why he got it caught. And was it a botch? Well, he was trying to do the flip over because Drew was going to catch him.
Yep, you can see his, he's right
he comes
there for
off,
catching, and then he goes down.
Very, very lucky that he didn't break his ankle. Really. And somebody wrote me and it says, why was that rope loose? And they can't make up their mind. Was it loose or was it tight? First of all, WWE, they don't have that problem. Because that one little referee, what's his name? Charles something?
Oh, Charles Robinson. He watches the show, in fact, I think.
Yeah, and he upset the ring up. That's what he does. So, but that right there makes people think, oh. And if it wasn't a botch, they said, oh, you have to really, really be good to get that and make it look that good. So when I first saw it, there's no way you can get somebody to even do that. Because of the danger of it, you can break your leg or do any kind of thing. But
I thought immediately watching it was a botch as well. But keep in mind that he has to post off the middle rope to get the height. So he sort of gets the height and then traps his leg. And also because Drew goes down, he's expecting a dive on him. I think at this point, I'd also like to pay tribute to how clever a performer Drew McIntyre is, because he sees this and within 5, 6, 7 seconds, instead of hang on, let's just unshare this now. So instead of just standing around staring there and trying to help him up, he ends up kicking him a lot instead, and then the crowd, he stops the "you effed up" chants immediately, and then he gets huge applause from the fans as well, and then afterwards he gets Damien Priest out of it because the referee can't, and then he says, well, I can't beat him in the ropes. So it's perfect logic to how to help him. You know what I mean? I thought he did a great job.
He did do a great job. And that's what you would do. You're gonna try to take the fans watching it. You're gonna try to take their minds off just what happened. But you can't beat him with him hanging upside down. The best you could hope for out of that is a DQ, which means you still don't get the belt. So his objective wouldn't be met, and it made perfect sense. So even if he'd got up and let him out of it, because then the announcer's saying, well, he's letting him out because otherwise they're going to have to stop this match. And that's basically he's throwing in the towel on his own title opportunity. So I agree with you. He kept it going, but I don't know if he even thought about it. He just did it. So I think that's what a seasoned pro would do is just keep going, and maybe the referee can get it out. Damien Priest is a big guy.
Yeah, he's got to be a legit 6'3".
I think he's 6'4", and he's probably 250 or maybe more. Because and Drew is big. He's about 6'4" too. So you had two big guys there, and they had a good match. They had a great match. But thinking about this match, when I saw the finish, I'm thinking, I don't know if that's the best thing to leave this crowd with. It's the last match of the night. He is from the UK, or he is from over there.
He's from Scotland, yeah.
And Did you hear what's the announcer's name? Samantha Irving. When she said, "Well, that's it. We're going to go," they started booing like hell because they did not like the finish. And then again, which brings in another thing. CM Punk, I know he's got an issue with Drew, but they had to come back later and say that he was cleared for referee work. If you think about it, you say, well, why would he be he's not a referee, he's a wrestler. Why would he be? And they did show a thing where he got a referee shirt from one of the referees, a female referee. And then he went out there. But how many referees they got on those big pay-per-views? They got at least 6, 7. Why would CM Punk just happen to show up out there? Well, so there's more questions about this than there are answers. Of course, it'll work out in the long run, but I'm saying this doesn't really, I don't know how much I think the creative team may have done too much thinking on this one.
I love the idea that they at least tried to explain away why CM Punk beat another referee to the ring. And, it was a spur of the moment thing. And then he gets the a referee shirt from one of the women referees and then goes out there. I also love, we're going to go back to Drew and the decision to not have
what they should have done. They should have had CM Punk pull the shirt off of her.
What, just because you want to see some boobies?
Well, she got a bra on and to pull it off and, Then he says, "Hey, do you ever wash this thing?"
Listen, that would go up human resources quicker than you could blink in this day and age, let me tell you.
But if that was a match that I was booking, you don't really want to leave them with a bad taste in their mouth, especially in the last match anywhere. It could be just a little bit of a damn high school gymnasium show. Give them a finish, and then they say, "Well, it's over, and we'll go home." But if you give them that, the DQ or even that, and it doesn't make sense, now you got more questions than you have answers, and they boot them at the end. I mean, they'll get through it. It's not going to stop anything. But did you like it?
Right. So I watched the show because it was on at a civilized hour. I think it was like 7 till 10 or whenever it was, or 10:30. I totally forgot it was on. I missed the first hour. I watched the second, third hour, and I watched the main event. I watched the Sami Zayn thing with Chad Gable, and I was wondering why.
How was that?
It was a good match, but here's the problem: the story of the match that it seemed to be leading to was Otis defending Maxine Dupree, and then turning on Chad Gable, and either one or two things. Somehow Otis turns on Chad Gable and then leads to Sami winning, or Otis turns on Chad Gable, attempts to attack Chad, and then somehow attacks Sami, and that's how Chad Gable wins the IC title, which I thought either one would have been absolutely fine. But then Otis doesn't turn at all. He just does that thing where he's just like, just angry about it, but then doesn't do anything. And like the crowd, it was a great crowd in Glasgow as well. I mean, for that amount of money you're paying, you're going to make sure that's the best night of your life for the money. And they were chomping at the bit to see a turn. And they didn't. And then they just did it on Raw. And the Raw one wasn't that spectacular either. It was just a shove and then they walked out. So I thought they missed the boat on that. That would have been perfect. And then, as you said, I don't know why, for a minimum get-in of like, $350, $400 a ticket, that they couldn't let the hometown hero win the belt. And they could have just switched it back on Raw for all it was. But I think the paying customer deserved a better finish than that. And I know you're going to bring this up as well. It's not the same as when Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns were in Montreal, because that was a hometown crowd as well. But yeah, so once again, the finishes, and that they didn't give the crowd anything special.
Well, the crowd already has a bad taste in their mouth because the last time he was there, he lost. Mm-hmm. So remember, I talked about this last week. I said 2 times in a row. And I picked Drew to win. I did. I said, they're not going to beat him or let him come out on the bottom end 2 times in a row. Nah. They won't do that. But guess what? They did. But again, it's wrestling, so we're going to have to let it go.
I mean, even worse, what if Damien Priest really was injured? And then
Yeah.
he just had to vacate the title 2 days later. I mean, he didn't, but, you know, it's almost a miracle that he got away without his knee torn up.
I bet Triple H and the creative team, they were saying, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God, what are we going to do now? Because now this takes their whole, now it shifts everything that they were going to do there. It shifts it to Raw. So that's how quickly plans can change. Somebody gets hurt, you got to change it. And you got to go with the next best thing that you can come up to keeping you in the same spot, because these cards are booked months in advance, months. I mean, but they're booked with, you have the out factor in them, what you could do. If this guy gets hurt, well, you got to do this. And Triple H knows how to do that, and they can change, they can turn on a dime anyway. But I did think it was odd that they had him lose a second time on that type of finish. And, but anyway.
I'll give you another scenario. Drew McIntyre wins, CM Punk then walks out with his theme music, everyone's really happy. Then he gets in Drew McIntyre's face and says, I'll be cleared for SummerSlam, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got a championship win, history's been made, and now you've furthered it for the next pay-per-view in a month or two's time.
What if they have Drew win, like you said, and then Punk gets in his face, right? And then he said, I'll be ready for SummerSlam. But let me leave something to remember me by. And he shoots him in the knee. With like a little 22, and then leaves him laying. Now that's memorable, I would say. Let me just leave you with a little memento of what I said. That would shock everybody.
Drew McIntyre on Raw then quits in storyline and deletes all his social media. He's been a social media champ as of the last few months, but we're going to move on. Insane Clown Posse has had a good old cry about CM Punk on social media. Not quite.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. It just seems to come out of the blue. So we've already talked about the gathering of the Juggalos and your trip there. We've done that in depth. So I know you've worked for the Clowns before and met them a time or two. So I'm going to clean up the language on this one.
Mm-hmm. Now this is Violent J.
This is the most violent of J's, yes.
The heavy set one.
The big boned.
The bigger one.
Yes.
Yes.
The big boned one. So he says on social media, F CM Punk for life. You wouldn't shake our hands in TNA, you little lady dog. And you clown. Hang on, he's calling someone else a clown. He is a clown. He's a proud clown. Yeah. Anyway. On the only real friend you ever had in Colt Cabana, you lady dog. I shared my bank account with my mum before she passed. You insensitive little lady dog. You heartless alien. You can suck my winky. You little weak lady dog. Couldn't beat a jobber in UFC, you effing Jeffin' nearly pathetic little joke. Come beat me up, lady dog. You suffer inside everyone, and they mama knows that. Get your head right, you little suffering ass lady dog. VJ of Insane Clown Posse, just as legendary as you, little lady dog. Face it. What was all that about?
What was that about? I don't know. I don't know.
Were you there when the Insane Clown Posse were in TNA? Was that slightly before your time?
No, I was there when they were there.
Okay, well, did you ever hear this not handshaking thing?
Well, CM Punk was just, he was just another guy then. And I don't know. I have no idea where this comes from. But let me say one thing. My association or my situation with the Clowns, with Violet J, and what's the other's name?
Shaggy Too Dope. I don't know where I pulled that one
something. From. Nothing. I mean, I enjoyed those guys. I will say this: they love wrestling. They do that, and one of them is doing some NWA appearances. He's flying himself in on his own dime, not taking a payoff or anything. He just wants to go do it. So, and I don't know why CM Punk all of a sudden got on their bad side, and I've heard nothing about it until I read that this morning when you sent it to me.
Yeah, is he just
I don't know.
Is he just trying to get publicity for himself, just coming out with this out of the blue?
No, I don't think he likes CM Punk anyway. I doubt if he would went out of his way to do that, because CM Punk is not going to make any kind of appearance there at the happening or the gathering or whatever it is that they do every year. I will never forget, but I've already talked about this. I'm not going to do it again. I will never forget my time at the gathering. It was a lifetime memory that I will never lose.
It's one of those things with Violent J as well. I mean, he's saying, like, come and fight me. I'm pretty sure he's had, like, some severe heart issues as old Violent J. So I don't think he's the... I mean, maybe you should challenge Ric Flair. You know, like a pacemaker on a pole match or something, but maybe not CM Punk, who's...
Oh, they'd love to have Flair there.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, those juggalos, they don't give a shit. They don't care. So if you're walking around their campground, you might as well be in Never Never Land, because they're all high, they're all drunk, they're all drugged up.
It's Ric Flair.
Yeah, but one thing about them, they're not violent. They're just looking at you. And when you go out there and they're looking at you, and sometimes they're not even making noise, they're just sitting there looking at you. So if you go out to the ring and you're looking at people and they're not doing nothing, just looking at you because they're all stoned to the gills, it's a different experience. Let me say that.
Back to AEW, then we've got a couple of video things to watch, and then we'll close down the show. I sent you a couple of videos. I'm sorry, I only sent you one. I actually had three of Okada's new character. And he's meant to be a bad guy. Keep in mind, he's with the EVPs, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry. But everyone loves this guy because he's got really broken English and he's very amusing.
Is that the one that the rapping group that went down to the ring?
Yeah. So you saw that segment from AEW.
But Okada he's with the Bucks, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
That's pretty much it. I sent you a segment where Okada interrupts a introduction. I thought you'd like to talk about Max Caster's rap.
Okay, let me say this again. The Bucks are supposed to be heels, right? Mm-hmm. Okada, people are laughing. They're enjoying him. So he's really a babyface. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? I mean, he said, "Oh God, oh," and he covered his hands up. I don't know if anybody has seen this or not, but it's kind of comical, and to see a Japanese guy doing it anyway. And I don't know. I think they've lost their direction on that one already.
His new catchphrase is he'll say just whatever and just go, "Bitch," and that's
it. And it's a good one. You will remember him just by that. All you got to say is one word.
So also in that segment, I want to bring up something. So I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I sort of, when I see the Young Bucks acting, or CM Punk acting, because he did that, he was doing the pantomiming, oh my God, the referee's down. Really, really over sort of panto of let me get a referee shirt. And then the Young Bucks, who I find to be terrible actors. But Max Caster takes the biscuit as far as the worst actor in wrestling, because when his microphone cuts off, his face does, he I don't know if you notice this, he sort of just goes, and then he can't hear himself, and he just goes, absolute stony-faced, like not an expression on his face. Who's the worst actor in wrestling for you?
Well, there's been a lot. Tell you the truth, I can't remember them now, but they were a lot. They didn't. I don't know. I would have to think about that. You can't ask me questions like that on the spur.
No, I'm sorry.
Because I don't have an answer. Now I'm thinking a lot of them, but I can't name one. Well, there's a lot of them. Why can't you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll narrow it down a bit. So when in the Zeb Coulter days in WWE had to do all these pre-produced backstage vignettes and stuff like that, who just really, really struggled, one being convincing or two getting the lines out first time? And it had to be like 8 takes.
Jack wasn't the best. Because he would... Sid Vicious is another one. Remember the one he did?
Yeah,
he asked me, Mean Gene, can we do this over? Oh, we're live, buddy. No, Jim Ross.
Jim Ross, yeah.
He said, oh, we're live, buddy. And they had to go. But some guys just cannot do an interview to save their life. And don't ask them to do one live because it's not going to get done. And God rest his soul, but Bobby Eaton, I used to have him do interviews for me, just going up and down the road. Oh my God, they were hilarious. Because he would stop everyone and now what was I talking about again? And that's why they had the manager Cornette. Cornette could flub an interview and you wouldn't know it. He would just keep going. But little Bobby, he couldn't do an interview to save his life.
No, he would have never made it in this day. I mean, with the wrestling, yes, but with the having to go backstage and act and memorize lines, I guess probably not. We've got a few more things to talk about. Hulk Hogan's going to feature in 2 of them, and you don't know the last 2 videos I'm going to show you as well. So
I saw him.
No,
I think I did see him.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't send them you on purpose. I thought you.
But I saw him before though. I think.
Well, never mind. We're going to watch him again and have some fun with it. But anyway, Hulk Hogan, he was on Fox and Friends recently. He was promoting a new beer that he has got some sort of association with, and his face seems to be on it. And then the hosts asked the Hulkster if he would ever consider running for office. And then the Hulkster says, "We need somebody in there that's got some common sense," Hulk Hogan said enthusiastically. Well, damn it. I'm sick of all these presidents without all the common... who doesn't think that anyway? So if you need a president or vice president, I'll volunteer and take this country over. I'll rule with an iron fist, a flat tax, nothing but common sense. I know right from wrong, brother. Hogan's willingness to get involved in public office comes just after he launched a new beer company, and then he continues, "I had this crazy idea because I saw how competitive the beer industry was, and I saw what happened with Bud Light and their whole promotion that crashed and burned. I saw this crazy open lane, and it just reminded me of what needed to be done in this country. We're much more alike than we are different," he continued. "I just thought this is so much bigger than politics, because if you can't communicate and you can't talk, you're not going to get anywhere with your discussions, your decisions, or with people getting along." And then Hulk basically says that everybody should hash things out over a beer, which in fairness is not the worst advice.
It's not really in depth either.
No.
I think they do try to hash things out over not a beer, but a case of beer, and they still don't come up with nothing. It's but he's tried to run for president before.
Oh yeah.
What, in 2000, what was it?
No, he was
14?
in 98. This is like the tail end of the peak NWO era, and he said he was running for president. He even went on Jay Leno's Tonight Show and said, "Oh, I'm running for president." And Jay said, "Are you going to be a Republican or a Democrat?" And Hulk Hogan basically went, "I don't know." Like, man, hang your hat on that candidate.
I think The Rock had some presidential aspirations about around 2015. You hear about it?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, so he had to have some discussions with some people.
We're going to do we're going to stick with wrestling. We're going to do the last 2 things, and then we're going to end the podcast, and then I'm going to run off. No, we're going to do the other podcast as well, and then I'm going to run off and do this appointment thing. So anyway, just give me 1 second. I'm going to tie up, whatever it is, queue up the next video. Bear with me. And we're back, and here is tying up with Hulk Hogan. Whatever this video is, I don't quite understand what's going on here.
It's from Hooters.
To be honest, that's the best bit of the video, really, just that first second.
Yes.
Okay, let's just pause that. No, okay. So Hulk Hogan is fighting with a guy over a belt. What was that about?
I don't know what. Why did you slap him on the butt?
Don't know. Also, is he just
You
got
those
really
two?
fat
You got
arse? look at right. Let me pause it here. Boop. Hang on. Is he just really heavy set or something like that? He's built like a pear. This guy.
He's a fat bastard.
Or is he padded? I mean, not nature's padding, but you know what I mean.
No, look. Oh my God! Now, what was that for?
Some guy's Instagram, I guess.
I don't get it.
That is the best bit.
Now, that is the best part of it.
Yeah.
But he's with those two girls standing there. Then he slaps a male on the ass. Oh my God! And then pushes him. And oh my God, I don't even know what that was for. But
how would you improve that?
How would I improve it?
Yeah,
I'd erase it.
Mm.
Don't even show it. Now you have another one.
Yes, this is going to be. I don't know why I stopped sharing the screen there. This is going to be. I'm just going to even leave this in. This is a video that has done the rounds as of recent, and it is. How would you describe this before we even play it? So for the audio listeners, how would you describe this in? I don't know.
Well, it's something you shouldn't do, but from you got to go see what tipped me off that it was foreign subscribite. Where's that from? I read.
It's got a masked guy in the logo, so I'm suspecting Mexico.
Well, it's got to be Mexico. But first time I saw this, I went, "What the hell are they trying to do?" Anyway, hey, if you want something stupid, stay with wrestling and you'll find it.
And here it is.
Here it is.
Here it is. So there are two people fighting on top of, what is that? It looks like on top of a building that's half made.
Yep. Now I like when he stopped. Now watch this guy shift. Well, let me get in position here. Oh yeah,
So he's just been thrown like what, 10 feet, 12 feet off onto a car.
No, that's more. It's like 20 feet, probably.
It is.
And now look, now see what he's got? Fluorescent bulbs. Now this is a hell of a move here. If you look at it, look.
That's got to be at least 15. You're right.
Yeah.
So he does a moonsault onto a guy on a car holding onto fluorescent light bulbs.
Yep.
I think we need to watch this one more time. Just the main things. This goes. So he throws the guy into the car. That goes about as perfectly as it could do. And then the idiot recording it just films him shifting around 90 degrees to get into position.
Yeah.
And then the guy who does the moonsault.
Now, no telling how long it took him to get ready. And
then somehow that goes perfectly.
Yep.
He sticks it perfectly. That could have gone so wrong 99 out of 100 times.
Well, I'll say their performance, I'd have to give them a 10 on the performance. And sometimes they do this thing, just put it on X or Twitter, it used to be, and just wait for the clicks. Because it'll be there. How many clicks do you think that'll get? 1 million?
I saw loads of people sharing that. I even saw Bradshaw sharing it.
Yeah.
And then pretty sure Bradshaw said, yeah, I used to do that move back in 92.
Oh, yeah, he did. I taught it to him. I tell you, I had more fun with you bring up John Layfield, Bradshaw. I had more fun with that guy riding up down the road because, boy, you're talking about bullshitting. I would say something like, John, when you was in World War II, you remember that damn Guadalcanal or something? Oh, yeah. And then he would go in this long, and he's a history buff too, and he'd bring all this out. He was hilarious. Or I'd ask him, hey, when you won the Darlington 500 in 1975, was you in the Chevy or was you in the Ford? And then he would just take it and run with it. And very, very entertaining he was. So, but talking about this clip we just saw.
Where does it rank in the all-time? I mean, apart from the fact that they landed both of them as perfect as you could, where does it land on the all-time stupidest things ever attempted in wrestling?
Well, it wasn't stupid. Well, it is stupid because it'd be very easy to botch that, and you're going 15 feet in the air, and I would think even the guy laying there and the guy coming down on top of him, there's a lot of chances for it to go wrong. It didn't, so you got to give them props for that, but it is one of the craziest things I've seen. So, but you know what people have never even talked about? You know that powder inside that fluorescent bulb can cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's full of like argon or something.
Oh my God. And it can get in your eye. And what if one of the glass from the fluorescent lighting gets in your eye? You could lose your sight. So I think they got a lot more talent or performance savvy than they have intelligence. Because I saw it, it was performed well, but I actually forwarded it. I put it on X too, and I said, remind me not to even take an email from these guys.
I'm sure they do it for cheap. I'm sure they did all that for a hot dog and a handshake.
So what's the name of that group down there? Oriesco or something?
Oh, God knows. I don't know.
Yeah, they got a group down there that I don't know. I can't keep up with all these groups anyway.
Hey, well, I'll tell you what. If that was in my village, I'd go and see it for free.
Oh,
because obviously it was out in the street, so, they probably weren't charging anything.
Well, you don't know. They could have had a wrestling show there, and the people ran outside to see it.
Have you ever had like a free wrestling show where someone's passed the hat round afterwards to try and get some like donations?
How's that mustache? I got a little different today.
Yeah, it's longitudinal.
Are you saying, to get paid that they pass the hat?
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's ever happened at a wrestling show where they've asked for donations after a free show.
Oh, I'm sure. If you want anything to have happened, if it concerns money, oh yeah. A revival, you know how many times they pass that hat around?
Oh, like 20. Until that hat is full.
They keep passing around as long as the people keep giving. I've seen it pass when I was a kid. I know they passed around 4 times. So, and before we go, and hey, slapping each other in the head and people going down, and they was passing that hat several times. So, but it's crazy to see. It really is.
On that note, Dutch, we're going to record the Ask Dutch Anything episode, and then I'm going to escape. So I'll leave the intro short. Email us questions for dutch@gmail.com. If you have indeed a question for the Dirty Dutchman himself, we will see you on Tuesday for Ask Dutch Anything. And Dutch, we the people.
We the people.